Hello, my name is Erica, and I'm the Dyslexic Trekkie. This is going to be a ranking of captains from least to most favorite. This is 100% arbitrary, based solely on my bias. First, I'd like to say I don't dislike any of the captains. They're all amazing in their own right and in their own way. Each one has been the captain needed for the time they were in. Secondly, I'll only look at captains of ships for the show. That means Spock, Sulu, and Riker won't be on this list. I also won't count Prodigy because technically they don't have a captain. I will likely do something for Prodigy at some point in the future. This is going to be somewhere between a Star Trek off script and a Star Trek revisited. So I have a bit of a script written, but other than that, it's just my list of captains. The rest is going to be me giving my own takes. Now, I'm going to be going through all of the 7 major captains of the shows. And this shouldn't be a surprise. Number 7 is Archer. I've got to say, I don't dislike Archer. I love all of these captains. But somebody's got to be the last. Somebody's got to be the first. And sadly for me, Archer is number 7. He's a great captain. He's a cool captain. He follows and listens to his crew. I honestly can't say anything other than he's just the one I love the least. His history and background are really neat. I love that he actually worked on the warp drive program. You get a sense that he has a little bit of a resentment towards the Vulcans. Maybe that's a little bit of it for me too. That hits me the wrong way. But again, he's not bad. He's good. I enjoy him. I enjoy some of the scenes. I remember very distinctly when the ship is investigating a meteor and some of the crew go down to study it, and he has to ask them why they built a snowman. It's perfectly timed just because of when it came on and what was going on in my life when Enterprise first came out. I didn't watch it until it was in reruns. I binged it. And in a way, Enterprise really brought me back to Star Trek. And I appreciate it for that. That's why I said I don't dislike the show. It's just the one I've liked the least. He's funny when he needs to be funny. He's badass when he needs to be badass. And that's all well and good. It's just that for me, he's the one who hits the points just the least. Number 6 is Kirk. For probably some of the reasons in the hot take. I'm not a fan of the first actor who played him. And I do feel like all of the actors who came after him have had to live down Shatner, and it takes me some work to get past that. And I like Kirk. I like the character. I like what he does. I was going to say I like his story arc, but more I think about it, he doesn't really have one. I think a lot of the captains suffer from this. They're the captain of the ship at the beginning, and they're the captain of the ship at the end. They don't have that push to be promoted higher because when they do, they're no longer on the show. You don't see an admiral running a ship. Not usually. It's just, I like him better than Archer because there is that sentiment of the original series, but there's just ones I think do better, which leads to Captain Pike. And this is where I start to really have fun with them. Captain Pike so far has been so much fun. You see this struggle with him, understanding what he's going to be, understanding what he's going to have to do. At the end of the 10-episode arc, you see him finally come to terms with what he's going to be. And I have a lot of respect for that. There's things I wish they had done that they didn't, but for what they did do, I think they did a good job. I saw somebody say that Pike is willing to stand in front of his crew and say, I got nothing. First person with a good answer wins. And I really respect that. Is the captain who said, Erica, do something awesome. And that one really did something for me. I love it. There's kind of an aw shucks about him. He has no problem looking the fool. When he finds out Discovery's crew is looking up his history, he pulls it up and looks up probably the most embarrassing part of it and says, yeah, that wasn't good, which I thought was really cute. There's not really a reason why he's not higher other than there's ones I think there's more of an emotional connection to him. I just haven't been around him enough to feel that deep emotional bond to who he is. And number 4 is Michael Burnham. What can I say about her? I love that we really get to see a genuine story arc with her from season 1 of Discovery into the last season they aired. She goes from somebody who basically keeps screwing up because she figures she's better a martyr than everybody else dying to somebody who's going to find an answer. You see genuine vulnerability in her. And I've talked about this before. They'll allow female captains to have a vulnerability they'll never let a male captain have. And it's one of the times that sexism actually ends up helping the character. She is strong. She is tough. I love when you see her just get out of bed and she's at attention from the moment she gets out of bed until the moment she lays down. It makes those moments when she's willing to be a bit softer really mean something. You can see her Vulcan upbringing. You can see everything that makes her just who she is right there, which, again, given she was raised by Vulcans, the emotion they let her show is neat. And she can get some comedy relief in the best of moments. There's an episode when Tilly is being haunted by what she thinks is a ghost, and Michael realizes it's not a ghost because this 16-year-old girl doesn't know what crying is, and she says there is no such thing as a 16-year-old human girl who doesn't know what crying is. And it's not, believe me, I was a 16-year-old girl. It's, believe me, I'm a xenoanthropologist. And that just cracked me up. She's going back to her scientific experience rather than her own personal experience at that moment, which is fair. She was raised by Vulcans. She was discouraged from showing emotion, even though she definitely had her emo phase. And number 3 is Cisco. I think the only reason why he's not higher up on the list is because of who's ahead of him. And I'll say I count Cisco as a captain when he was a commander. I have a feeling some people were not happy that he was Commander Cisco and not Captain Cisco, since he was the first black lead in command of a show. But space stations don't have captains, they have commanders. He only becomes a captain when he gets the Defiant. But he is a leader and he is in charge. And even if he never became captain, I think I'd probably count him. He's a tough guy, he's strong, but he's very circumspect when he needs to be. He's more than happy to punch somebody if that's what the situation requires, but he's also very capable of reasoning with others. I was young enough when Star Trek Deep Space Nine came out that I didn't really know Avery Brooks from anything other than Deep Space Nine. I didn't have that connection to his previous work from before he was on the show. I just knew him as Cisco. And seeing him go from this very straight-laced man to goatee to bald and somebody who may be more than willing to punch Q, but also later on in the show has a bit of a bad side to him. He's dynamic, he's interesting, and he's fun, and he's an amazing father. He's probably one of the most well-rounded captains in the franchise. And again, he's only 3 because number 2 is Picard. He's the captain of my childhood. I've said on occasion, there were some hard parts of my childhood. There were some dark points. I had a great home life, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't be who I am if I didn't have the help of my family and the support of them. But when I left the house, it wasn't safe. I didn't feel safe. My childhood, my safe place was Saturday at 6, watching Star Trek. That was my place where things got better. And Captain Picard was a different kind of captain. He was older than Kirk. He was a little bit more seasoned. He was more circumspect. He was everybody's dad, even though he was uncomfortable with kids. An archaeologist at heart, somebody who loved to learn and understand more. When Star Trek Picard came out, I just felt my heart just grow huge, just seeing Patrick Stewart play that part again. And then, finally, number 1. Nobody's surprised if you've watched my Star Trek Analyzed. It's Captain Janeway. And there are some very prejudicial reasons why. I'll be the first to admit, she's the first female captain. She's the first time somebody like me could look at Star Trek and say, hey, yeah, I could have been that if I was born at that time. All the little boys who grew up dreaming about being Kirk, all the girls now could dream about being Janeway. And she was strong. She had her softer interests, but she was a strong person and she could be both. And especially in the 90s, that was something we had to try to be, is both. And she did it. She rocked it. Then there's also the fact that Catherine's my sister's name. My sister pointed out in one of her Star Trek videos that Catherine Janeway has her name and Erica Ortega has my name. And so we're now both in Star Trek. She's not everybody's mom. What she is something very different. In Star Trek Voyager, she isn't just the captain of a ship, she is essentially the governor of a colony. She has to run the ship as a captain, but there's times in the show when she has to make a decision about what people can have in their personal lives. When it turns out Tuvok has been creating a holodeck program that ends up becoming a holo novel. And she says if Tuvok's cool with it, and Paris wants to make it into a real holo novel, let him do it. People need to have an outlet here. When the Doctor creates his holo novel and she sees what it is and she's so deeply disturbed by it, and when he finally realizes what he's doing, she defends him when the publishing company says, well, you're a machine. You don't have any rights. We're going to publish it anyway. You don't get to say no. And she sees the flaws in who people are as just as important as their qualities. She also has the ability to see individuals who are not okay and see their potential. That's necessary. Not just for the running of a ship, but to be a decent human being. People are often very flawed and broken. And she has the ability to see their worth in spite of that or even because of that. I've said before that Janeway was in a situation no other captain had ever been in. And I don't think they'll ever put another captain in that situation again where she's completely cut off from the Federation. She crosses the line a lot. I won't deny that. She does things that would not be okay with the Federation quite frequently. But there are too many times when it would have been so much easier for her to step away from the Federation Code of Conduct and go rogue, and she doesn't. Thank you for watching. If you like this subject, please like, share, and subscribe. If you have any thoughts, feelings, or ideas on this subject, please share in the comments below. Again, my name is Erica, and I'm the Dyslexic Trekkie. Hey, Ray, are you going to sit like a decent... Sit like a nice ensign you are. Come on. Ray? Yes. We haven't had this kind of a conversation in a while, have we?